Here we are again. Got a new guest, but this is lots more from the heart. Today, in this presentation or in this conversation, because it's going to be a conversation, we are going to be talking about valley fever. We're going to be talking about COVID. And so I kind of call this valley fever to COVID to life. Two women, different backgrounds, one journey. Well, this time is where, and lots more from the heart, when we have these podcasts, is where we promote and we encourage and we give a platform for people to tell their story. Like here today, my friend and former colleague, actually, because we work together. I'm not connected with you in years, but you have a story to tell. She has a story to tell. Now, before we get into her story, let me tell you just a little bit about this woman. She is the founder of Sankofa 2020, a cultural, educational, and community wellness organization. For decades, she's been involved in community healing, public health education, peer support, workshops, storytelling, and more importantly, helping people. Really helping people understand where they've come from so they can better understand where they're going. And I think that always touched me with you. If I'd have been thinking, I may have worn that today. I have a t-shirt that has a Sankofa bird on it. I never knew what that meant, but that Sankofa is, looking back, the bird looking back to know where it came from. So it's both my pleasure and my blessing to introduce my friend, Monique. Monique, sometimes I think in the looking back, and that's what sparked this. We was a simple telephone call. You looked back and you were telling me about what had happened to you. We were catching up, and it went back 3 years ago. You had, I think it was, the first thing was the valley fever. Then you got meningitis, and then it was a COVID. And there were some very serious things that happened to you during that time, some changes. And that's what makes this conversation so personal, because I went through some things right during those dates, the very day and so it was just resonating through me, going through my battle with sepsis, which, we've talked about. But neither one of us knew what we were going through, the other at the time. You were in your place battling. I was in my place battling. But when we came a few weeks ago and we started talking, we started telling each other our story. Right here, we were going to start recording a while ago, and we sat here and we had some good time to talk and to share about things past, what we're doing here today, and then even looking forward to some things that we might be interested in. But there is this journey, this time is about survival, healing, life. So I don't want to tell your story for you, and I've been talking enough. I want to go into this. So before valley fever, before COVID, before the doctors and all the treatment, everything that you were, would you talk a little bit about who Monique was before then?
Okay, I feel like I had 3 lifetimes. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I appreciate you. I appreciate being a guest on your show. I appreciate it. That was an average kid. I was just an average kid. I like to play outside. That's when kids played outside. I'm born in the 60s, so, and And so, yeah, I had 3 older brothers. I was the first girl, and then it was a girl that came after me 7 years later. So I was kind of like a lonely only for a minute there, just in terms of gender, I guess is a proper term. And so, anyway, and nothing was off limits. Nothing. I played hopscotch, I jumped rope. I played on the monkey bars, climbed fences. I roller skated. I had a bicycle. My grandfather had built a swing on his tree in the front of their house with a tire, and so we all took turns on that tire. So I just normal. So. Yeah.
And look how the normal changes. What we call normal.
Oh, yes.
The things that happen to normal people.
Wow.
Just normal.
Yes.
So coming up into right before all that, you were working?
Well, my story is kind of checkered. It's kind of checkered. I've always worked. I mean, I am definitely a baby boomer, and as I like to do generations and all that kind of stuff to kind of find out a little bit about who I am. Baby boomers were products of World War II.
Yes.
And I know
okay, it goes from
history 46 to 64.
Yep.
So I'm born somewhere in between, and so work was our ethic. That was we were raised by, I think they call them the greatest generation. So you got to go work.
I've heard.
You go to work. You work. So my thing is, sometimes I laugh looking at my childhood. My mother, when she come in the room, we like, we better start wiping some walls, do something, because
everybody had to do something. That's right.
Something. So, it worked. And then, through a series of, I'm looking right at the one, I'm sorry.
It's
through
all right.
A series of, I love it. Anyway, of events, I had bowel obstruction. So, in having a bowel obstruction, it progressed, and it progressing, I was in the hospital quite a bit. So, what I did was reduce my work to temporary because I was in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
I'm born in Los Angeles, but I moved to the Bay Area, so I've not been to Los Angeles since I was a teenager. Late teens, I think 18, 19, 20, maybe 17.
See, and I thought you were from right here. Okay.
Yes. And I'm here. That's another podcast. Anyway, and so I would go to, so I did temporary work because it's what was available.
Mm-hmm.
We lived in urban areas,
Right.
And so just so that if I got sick, I didn't have to call in sick. I just took off because I was going to the hospital quite a bit.
Wow.
I also had the care of my niece, who I guess shares your birthday, June 13th.
June 13th.
June 13th, 1990. Her name is Renee. And so I had her. That's another story too. But anyway, living up in the Bay Area, and so my cousin who was down here, because my extended family has always been in Central California. My grandmother chose Los Angeles.
Wow.
Her brothers, one of her brothers chose Dos Palos.
Oh my goodness,
And,
that's a little.
And so my grandmother was very clear that I did not leave. We're from Texas, Longview, Texas.
Wow.
And so she said, I didn't leave Texas to go back to Texas. That's why I am from Los Angeles. People get a boo, yes, when you say LA, but it's like, we went somewhere. We went to Detroit, we went to Chicago. It's a large Black population up there.
Jeez,
and
Chicago.
I'm really glad she settled on LA because, I don't know snow.
Some of that was during, that would have been after Great Migration. There's a lot of from the South.
Yes.
Where we came and settled up in, like you say, West Coast, in the northern cities of Chicago's, Cleveland's, New York's. But I I'm still kind of, I thought it was just here. So you and I met and worked through, we worked through a counseling agency. I remember you teaching yoga. I remember you being very active. I remember attending conference with you, a conference that we went to. But then we kind of like, I guess, went our separate ways. But for you, during that time, you were doing, the 20, what was it? The Sankofa?
2020.
2020.
Sankofa 2020. Yes, Sankofa
Yeah.
2020.
So, and I was in school during time. I missed a lot of that. And then to hear it now, what's going on with that right now, by the way, before we get into your COVID journey?
Well, first of all, Sankofa 2020 is me. So
Yes.
whatever's happening with me is what's happening with
Okay.
Sankofa 2020.
Okay.
It is not a business separate from me.
Right.
That's
why
good.
That's good.
I
Okay.
like it because, and so if I'm down, it's down. If I'm not
Okay.
down, it ain't down. So and
Okay.
I'm starting to come up. So what happened was I moved here from the Bay Area. First of all, the cost of living in the Bay Area was so exorbitant that, I said, no place is that pretty that I'm going to sleep under the bridge in order to stay here. I'm getting your car and go visit. I'm getting out of here. I can't, So, and then
True.
and because I was sick a lot too, that family member said to me, Monique, because she wanted to help, but she couldn't because she was here in the Central Valley. It's her home.
Wow.
And and I had my niece, who I think was 12 at the time. I'm not sure, maybe 8, 12. I can't remember. I do have a brain injury from my condition. But anyway, and so we moved here. And so I moved here in 2000.
Okay.
And immediately, because of my condition and going back and forth to the hospital, the doctor here said that, and they did not want to do surgery with me up there in San Jose. I was on I was in the bedroom communities. I was in Mountain View in San Jose.
Oh, I'm familiar with that. That's where I go for treatment. Okay.
And they did not want to do it. And it's because I was an indigent, indigent. And so when I got here, shortly after I got here, I guess my bowel obstruction had become so bad that the doctor, Dr. Monfort, said that we're going to do surgery. And I said, now, I was scared. I said, they brought me down here to the Central Valley to kill me. They're going to kill me. I said, but he said, and I said, well, they were trying like heck not to do the surgery in San Jose. He said, well, we're going to do it here. And I was like, you're under, you're under their care, under the gun as well. And so he did the surgery, and I have not, up until this COVID, and I'm so grateful.
Yes, I definitely understand. Coming to this valley, I see it over and over. We may come here for one thing. Military brought us, your health brought you, and just connection brought you.
Yes.
So we tend to stick around here. And you said something earlier while we were talking that we need to do what we need to do where we're planted.
Where you're planted.
Yeah,
yes.
I like that. And that now I can see where that comes from. So this is where, again, now you telling your story right here where you're planted. And so it began with you coming from the Bay Area to here.
Yes.
You had the bowel.
Yeah.
Now, what happened with the valley fever? What was that journey?
Okay, well, for one, I was able to work for the first time, really, without any interruption. So thank goodness for Mom for the surgery. I was able to work. And so, and I've been in the recovery community for years.
Took you there. Okay.
Pretty much all my adult life. And so, looking for a job because you got to go to work. Now that I can go to work, and I'm not supposed to do research on the job and find out about the company. Now, I'm give me a job. So anyway, I don't care. So anyway, it was Kingsview, and Kingsview was a case manager, a counselor in the substance abuse community, and Prop 36, in fact. And
I remember that. I
and,
remember that.
and so, and so I told them that I'm in recovery because I had been in recovery long enough to know that the people that I would see me at meetings. And I'm like, I want them to know that the counselor is not getting loaded. The counselor hanging here, with some clean time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what happened. Yeah. When I told the lady at the interview that, she said, well, would you like to be a counselor? And of course, because we needed what? A job?
Yes.
I said, yes. That's how I got into it.
Wow.
That's how I got into it. And so, and I loved it. I loved it.
Well, I see you as somebody who can talk to anybody. You know what I mean? You're very personable. And you know what? In this world, we will have trouble. And people, I don't care how much they try to look and act like, oh, I've never had any problems, everything. No, we all have something. But again, that's what sparks me about here you're counselor. You're helping others, pulling them up. And when you told me that night, we talked about how that change. I had heard of valley fever, but I dismissed it. It's nothing. I mean, it's the flu. So here you are in all that you're doing. I don't know where. So this was before COVID, the valley fever.
Yes. Well, as I worked in counseling and case manager and mental health background, that's where I met you.
Right.
That's
right.
where I met, and I was able to see that that it is so much more than drug using. It's really a means of coping. And so I went back to school, and earned my degree, which that's another story. But anyway, but recognizing that social work was the bigger envelope, so it's not like, what is it? How does that go? It's not something to the effect. It's my brain working on it.
That's all right.
The effect of what happened to you. What
then shaped
your
response.
Yes. And so, I was able to, and that was so wonderful to have a long view as to the bigger picture. And that's still how I am, which is part of the name of the Sankofa 2020. Look back.
Yes.
So you look forward with clarity. 2020, but it's not happenstance,
Yes.
And so, working at behavioral health at the time, and I guess doing all my certifications, all these things you have to keep up with, all that stuff, and I had gone back and forth to the doctor. We even had an employees healthcare clinic, so I'm not afraid to go to the doctor, but I just wasn't getting any answers. And since then, I diverted it. Since then, so I had a headache, and I'm not a headache person. I do not get headaches. I get stomach aches, but I don't get headaches, And I was at home on a webinar. I'd taken off from work because I knew I wasn't feeling well. I just didn't know what it was. And so my husband asked, do I want to go to the doctor? And I told him no. And eventually, I was, my head was, I closed off the webinar, and I was like, I knew I was sick then because it was like maybe an hour left, but I couldn't keep my eyes open.
Wow.
My head was hurting so bad. And I'm like, what is this? So he says, he eventually got me to the ER.
Our husband.
Thank God. And so they said migraine. I know people have migraines. I'm like, they're light sensitive. I'm not. I'm not light sensitive. I'm like, so we want to go get Excedrin, for migraines and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's not it. And so I think we must have gone back because I remember getting the So now things are starting to get blurry because the pain is just taking me
That's
out.
what it will do.
And
Yes.
so, anyway, long story short is that in the hospital, eventually, here in Hanford, I guess.
Yeah, you said so.
Okay. Then they did diagnose valley fever. And I was surprised. I was.
So they did like blood work.
I don't
Is that-
know.
I gotta look that up.
I don't
You know,
know.
I did look into a little bit because I know valley fever is very. I mean, it's thus the name valley fever.
Yes.
It's prevalent here in our area.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
It's prevalent in Kings and Kern have the highest cases of valley fever in Kings County.
I think in the United States. Isn't it?
Well, no, right now, I don't know about the United States, but I do know that in Kings County, it is a very small county. So for it to have that number, it just kind of it's the spores
Yeah.
in the soil
Yeah.
that travel and, it attaches itself to, I guess, your body organs. I'm not a doctor. I don't know all the
but
details.
that's explained about. I did a little research, but nothing to qualify me.
And it's the spores that
yeah.
get into
Yeah.
your system. And the thing is that I was a mask wearer. I'm also an ex-smoker, part of my substance abuse. And I was a heavy smoker. So I was always kind of watching out for respiratory stuff. And then when they did COVID with the mask, I was like, about time we got it right. I want to wear one all the time. I want to wear one all the time anyway.
So did you have trouble breathing?
No, I did not. I
Wow.
did not have any symptoms.
No
So one day,
respiratory. Okay.
but I knew that valley fever was respiratory. But I mean,
Yeah.
but so I just looked out for respiratory stuff. I did COPD all the time. I checked for lung cancer. I checked for emphysema because I was a heavy smoker. And but the valley fever, I was like, what? And then the only other person I knew that had valley fever was my cousin, and she said she worked in the field. I was like, well, I ain't gonna get it because I'm working in an air conditioned office.
Wow.
You see?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's what happened. So
See that what you said there too is not just where you work. I had heard that people who worked at the prison
yes,
that because you're driving and all that. I mean, my own husband he makes sure he puts the air on recycle, so it's just a cabin.
good.
But when I talked to you that night, and I didn't say this, I found myself, not one. It took a while to go back into my yard and even get in the dirt.
Yeah.
And
wear
because
Wear
that's
masks.
now I see there's
Yes.
a reason to do it
Yes.
without. Because after the sepsis thing, I'm thinking, oh, I don't want anything to come in and
Mhm.
take me through that again. And so with that, I had to learn, it's things are going to happen to us. Things are just going to happen to us. And so you diagnosed with valley fever, and then
Valley fever went to my brain, which is what caused the meningitis.
so it's one of those things that can travel somewhere else.
Yes. And
Wow.
with the spores in the ground, it can travel. I said 75 miles,
Wow.
but the doctor who presented at a group here just the other day said even more than that.
Wow.
Whatever the case might be, it can travel in the vents, like you're saying. And so,
So meningitis.
it turned into meningitis because I don't know how. Don't ask me. All
Wow.
I know is that eventually I had to have a shunt in my head. So I have a shunt in my head.
major.
Yeah, and
So even my headaches, did that have any?
yes, when I got the shunt in my head, in fact, because everything was a blackout now, and I
Yeah.
don't remember anything. Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. But one of the doctors I met, Dr. Krell out of the Dr. Community Medical Regional Center, I have to always say it like that. Anyway, I remember going to one of my visits with him. He's checking on the shunt. And he says, I said, well, I don't know who you are. Because I had a team of doctors. And so I said, he says, well, I'm the one who put the shunt in your head. And that's what stopped your headache. And you know what I said to him? I'll never forget you. And that's
Never
I
forgot
gave you his name.
Never forgot.
That stopped the headache.
Wow.
Wow. Because you got that fluid on your brain.
Yes. Oh, fluid. That,
And now it's going down with the shunt inside of wherever it's going. I don't know.
it's like a, what are those things? The aqueduct. That's what I picture. You know, I shared with you, like with the sepsis, you had asked, well, so where did that come from? It wasn't it was from a surgery thing, but I felt like the doctors just opened me up and they took a hose and were just, washing me out.
Yes.
But for you, the actual shunt did relieve the fluid.
Yes. And just stopped the headache. So I was still out of it.
So no joke.
They really wasn't. And then my husband sometimes gets mad. God bless him. You know, that, you know, he was just saying that, you know, he said, when we go and get this sick, he said, and you got worse. You know, and you was mad. Doesn't like it was not. It was not.
Yeah, wait a minute. You told me that you had to learn how to walk again.
Yes.
And you had
Yes, I learned to walk. I had to learn how to walk. I guess I didn't really talk very much either. So that's why it's kind of still checked.
And you said they checked you possible stroke. All those things.
Meningitis mimics a stroke. Meningitis mimics a stroke. So, you know, however a stroke affects you, you know, learning how to walk, learning how to talk, all that stuff. And so, you know, that's...
Meningitis is a thing they talk about for kids going to college. So see, this isn't just something that happens to somebody older. You know, I think we were talking about that how people think, you know, oh, as you get old, you're gonna get it. Yeah, you got this. But the valley fever affects young people.
Yeah.
You both know someone.
Your pets too.
Really?
Yes, your pets.
Staying out of the dirt, Louis.
Your pets too.
Wow.
Yes, pets. Anybody outside breathing it. It's spores in the air when you're doing this digging. You know, we're expanding here in this area right now. Anything, it carries in the wind. It has nothing.
And you know, the winds have been kind of high. You know, I try not to have a spirit of fear, but I have still learned, the caution to respect. Yeah. So I'll wear a mask or handling chemicals. You know, I'll wear. During my journey, I didn't realize that the fluid had built up in my lungs. And one of the last things that I had done, and I mean, this memory just sparked. One of the last things I had done was to have fluid drain from my lungs. And the container, big old container fluid. And I didn't even realize I couldn't breathe real well.
Wow.
But we have got to be in touch with what we're feeling. You know, I always say it, parents, if your kids are telling me I feel this way or that way, not to dismiss them. You know, ask the questions, ask more questions. And if you don't know what questions to ask, take them to somewhere where they can get those questions asked. Because, you know, I do believe, you know, that I was kept. I'm here for a reason. I'm here for a purpose. I went through what I went through. I believe you telling me your story on that phone, it impacted me. And that's the power of doing what we're doing.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
And storytelling is as old as time.
That's right.
But this is how we learn. You know, people can connect. And my hope is that people can connect with you sitting there, me sitting here. We're talking about things that really happened that we're sitting here to tell the story of, because it didn't have to be that way. You know, you got COVID. Now you went to rehab.
They sent me from the Adventist Health to rehab. I hope I'm not.
It's okay.
You can edit it. I don't know. But anyway, because they wanted the bed.
Right.
And when I went to, so it's at the transitional home. I won't say the name.
There we go.
Okay. That I contracted COVID, evidently.
And it was during that time when the COVID was really...
No, just I was in the room with someone who had it. I don't know what the practices were because I was not with it. I have no idea. All I know is that I remember seeing a lady.
So was this when COVID started, though? Around everybody was real...
No, 23? COVID started.
Oh,
20.
my gosh. Yes, it did. That's right.
20, no.
My goodness.
And I've been vaccinated because I work with the public, so I'm not anti-vaxxer.
Yeah.
I'm, give them all to the one.
You can leave that there.
So I'm not anti-vaxxer.
Yes,
so,
yes.
I took, and then they have made it better. I don't know, but I remember seeing a lady across from me at this rehab center, and that they never really did explain it to me. But again, they did want the bed at the house.
Okay.
I remember seeing a lady with the tent over her head, an older lady.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, what am I doing in here with her? And they said, well, she has a COVID. And I did too.
Wow.
I don't know if I got it from her. I don't know. I don't know where I got it from, but I'm in there with her because I have it too. So I have not been able to smell or taste since then. That's 3 years. And I love perfume. I love perfume. So that's what happened. And eventually, with my husband, kind of following up on what's going on with them, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Because I still have the headaches as long as I'm in this Kings County.
Yeah.
They transfer me to Community Medical Regional Center. And that's where I met Dr. Krell, who put in the shunt.
Wow.
So,
okay.
My whole stay in the hospital, all of it was 2 months. 2 months.
That's
and
a
so
long time.
it is a very long time. And
and so you said you had to learn to re-walk.
Yes.
I mean, was it because of the combination, or was it just the COVID, or just
COVID is so minute compared to the meningitis and the valley fever. So the valley fever and the meningitis are my primary. COVID was secondary, ancillary to that. And had it not been sloppy medical practices, I wouldn't have got that. Because that's what happened. Yeah. It was sloppy medical practices. And all I can say is thank goodness I was vaccinated, because it probably would have been worse.
And since you said it, that is something else that we deal with. We're, the talk now, everybody's doing medical and, the problems in the healthcare system. Mm-hmm. But things can happen to anyone. The reason you sign that paper, which I always just, and now I pause. The surgery since then, I'm like, let me read this. Okay. But things do happen that you don't suspect. And you may have a bazillion people, nothing ever happens. And then just one person, it happens. Excuse me. Then you find out there were all these other people. Oh, me too.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm hoping that, again, this will spark. My guy that publishes my podcast, he's always saying, well, get people to come forward, to drop a post or drop a comment, if they've had valley fever, if they've had meningitis, but I believe there's power in connection. Mm-hmm. There's help in shared stories,
in us connected, we're protected.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
I like that. I'm going to have to get some of that. Now, for the sake of this time, I don't want this to be real long. I wanted people to hear from you what you went through, the series of it, and just you telling it. I could tell by just us talking about the last few weeks, even we're getting something from this. I'm hearing strength in you with, there's some things that I need to do. We hit on that. There's things that I need to go, and I want to see this same
tell it
for
on the
2020. Yes.
That's right. Tell it on the mountain. Don't tell it on the mountain.
Yes.
That's it.
Real. We could have done this from remote spots, but you said, no, we got to come in person and do this. Mm-hmm. And that's, again, power and connection. One of the things we talked about surviving. You survived. I survived. We obviously survived because we're here. In previous guests, the podcast, we talked about survival after cancer, and everybody's supposing that you're okay and everything's all right. You talk about your memory. You talk about, and it's not just because we have the little bit of the old timers. I call it old timers. It's from what we went through.
Exactly.
And you go through recovery, the breathing, all those things. The oxygen affects your brain. There's that fog. I know valley fever affects the brain and memory, cognition. What do you think people see, and where is that a problem for you? Because for other people, and you're trying to find it in there, and they don't. How does that affect you and who you are? Do you know what I mean by that?
No.
When I have to search for a word or somebody's name, you're doing great with the names.
I'm getting better. Oof, I am dead. It's 3 years now. It's been 3 years. And I want to tell you this, really, I've noticed myself, and like in the last month, it's been a vast improvement in the last month.
Wow.
I have struggled most of this time. It has been a slow progress. And the good news is that, I call myself medically retired because I never went back to work. I knew I didn't have the cognition to do it, and so, or the stamina or anything. And so I'm disabled. And, so, I forgot.
See, and that is real time. What happens to me? At one point I could remember the name of a hospital. At one point I could remember, I was going into the room to get this, and then I left that.
Yeah.
And it's not our old. No. It's not our age. No. It has nothing to do with that. No. It has everything to do with the effects of these kinds of processes, diseases.
Yes, that's right.
The medical, the diagnosis.
That's exactly right.
And coming to who we are after it.
And I'll tell you this too. I know that you do grief work. I was doing a little research myself and saw you on the clinic and all that. And I remembered that from before. And I'm so glad. To me, it's it's expansive. It's about the people. It's about it's not just losing a loved one, but loss of people you used to be.
Yes.
So I really have to be careful not to beat myself up because I like I said, I've been in recovery circles for many, many years, and they used to say the only fair recovery is of me to me, and I get what they're saying. But part of what I did was I would compare myself to who I was even before this condition. And I don't, so I didn't take notes. I mean, I was fluid. And now I'm like, I don't know. But anyway, so.
But that's what, going back, that was what I was asking. Do you find, and you answered it. You just answered it. And you know what that answer was? You give yourself grace.
Yes.
You give yourself grace. I find, when people can see you struggle or whatever, I want to explain, well, you see, this is because of so-and-so.
Right.
This happened because of that.
Yeah.
But some people, they need to know that.
Yeah.
And others I need to give myself grace because I know where I
Come
am
on.
and how I am at this point.
Yes.
And even if I'm struggling to find what it was I was about to say.
Yes.
But it's real.
Yes.
And it doesn't make you less
Monique. No.
It is, and it is grief.
It is
right.
grief.
We grieve who we were.
And I had to grieve because part of this, you talked about my child. You asked me about my childhood earlier. I was always smart. I realized in my family of origin, part of school was an escape. was really no real, I don't even know that word. I'm going to say valor on my part, but, but
I understand.
I caught on quick because, I just did it. My mother used to read to me, things like that. Thank goodness. And so all that to say that, part of my grieving is, and this has been recent, like in the last 3 or 4 months, realizing how much I depended on my brain to get me through.
Yes.
I was like, I knew I didn't meet the standards of beauty as far as, whatever that is, brown, blue, 36, 24, 36, whatever the heck it is. I don't know what it is. I knew I didn't meet those standards, and I was grateful, but I knew I could think, and that's what this has impacted. So I actually have been going through grief around that because, and I was, like I said, I was very fluid. But now I'm like, I don't know what that word is. So part of what they suggest to help me with memory is like, I just got a puzzle. They say put puzzles together. I do word search, and I'm also very quick to help people that I'm not good with names. I probably never was. I'm also thinking that some of my brain stuff, some of it I think is hereditary. I think there's a little attention deficit in there anyway. I think that's a trauma response. But
being in the field of mental health and counseling, we pick that up.
Yeah.
But I can honestly say, you doing what you're doing right now is healing and helping and filling in some things, and it's going to be a building block. We've talked about it right here that we're going to do some things, with, again,
we need to get the word out. We need to get the word out. And
I need it. I need this catalyst. And again, my previous with her, we talked about having a forum where we get together and people can ask questions, maybe it live somewhere. I don't know how the logistics are going to play out, but we are here for a reason. And it's not just to be silent or be Muslim or suffer in silence, none of that. But if we still, and I see it in you, have this desire to help others, to have it be more than just something that happened to me. It's going to happen. And we're going to do it.
And one of the things we talked about, I don't know if we talked about this or not, but that Valley fever affects Blacks and Filipinos differently than other groups.
I'm glad you remembered to bring that up. I didn't know that either. I mean, much like cancers, the people groups, Black, Hispanic, Filipino, but I mean, there are some things that are really more prevalent in the different groupings. And again, we don't talk about these things. And I'm not an avid reader. I mean, these books, they could be props for all I know. But I learned through listening, which is probably why I like stories. But that is the truth. And again, how do they know it?
Exactly.
Tell them.
Exactly. And the doctor who was there, the guest speaker, talked about it's something in some genome, genetics. With this group, these groups that, it shows up. He didn't go into a whole lot of detail, but it was enough for me to, like, I had known that because, like I tell people, I've been Black all my life. This didn't just happen.
Me too.
I'm gonna, especially because I know I was compromised anyway. Probably the only solution would have been to move, though. I mean, but you're just prone to it when you're
and you could get anywhere. I mean, the things that happen to me anywhere. Cancer. My gosh. You could be in certain places or certain be predisposed to it, but it can happen to anyone, anywhere, anytime. But it's not the what happened, but the what we do with it. I've heard stories. I get a lot of stories in the work I do, because I like to listen to what people have to say. It makes their loved ones who have passed, when they tell the story about their loved one, it makes them alive to me. But how
The
in their
spirit
loved
doesn't
ones,
die.
you know,
Spirit does not die.
I'm just
Yes.
telling you.
Yes.
And as they recount this one woman in particular, how she didn't want to just lay home and die. And she, you know, if she could have died in church or in the pew, she wouldn't have, but she kept being active. And that's one of the things that I say, I want to live until I die. And if this is living, then I want to live it more abundantly. Every day people are, well, aren't you going to retire? When are you going to retire? You know, you said medical retire. I said, when God retires me, I'll retire.
Thank
but
you.
until then, even in retirement, there's things that we can do.
Oh, yes.
Always to help.
Yes.
So
Sankofa 2020 is part of my retirement work. That's what it is. And I mean, and I'm not trying to trip the light fantastic or anything like that, or make $1 billion. That's not my goal. But it's part of the platform.
I understand
to make it available to do this kind of work. And that, and I left it wide open on purpose because we all have a story to tell. We all have stories to tell.
Yes.
Each of us has a story. Even the 2-year, they have a story. So, so that's part of it. And then letting spirit speak to me about, what that is. And I'm not saying that to you. It's like, it's important. I know it's important. That's why I called you.
I and again, we talk about, I believe that nothing happens for no reasons. Things don't just, I believe in all of this time, there's a purpose. I do. And with that said, I really want, if you could encourage somebody to tell their story, to come on after all that you've been through and your recoveries, okay? Because your recoveries for other things too. What do you think it is that would spark somebody to have hope, to persevere, to keep going?
Well, I have an acronym for hope. I'm an acronym person.
Okay.
I love acronyms. And again, this is all of my recovery exposure. Hearing other people's experience. Hearing other people's experience. My being able to tell my story enables you to be able to tell yours. That's how they, and I'll tell you, I think that's part of why I've enjoyed the recovery movements for so long, because it's just stories. They are stories. It's like, that's why I like them. I love the personal stories. I just love them.
I could relate to them.
Goodness.
You said it, go tell it on the mountain. When I was looking at what to call this work within me, I thought about having that music, go tell it on, and of course what goes with that. But I do believe we're here this afternoon for a greater purpose. And I'm excited to see what's going to happen. I mean, you guys will let us know the impact, what this is. And with that said, any closing remarks or anything you'd like to leave?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I will say that along the same lines what we're talking about. No, I could think no.
I know there's more. And with that said, it may be another podcast.
Yes.
I think I really am seeing having a forum, having more people, just,
and it can be by Zoom.
It really can.
Yeah.
What can be available. So that's a little teaser out there for what's coming. I'll say this, isn't it remarkable that while I was fighting for my life, you were fighting your own fight, but somehow your journey here, my journey there, that one here, my guy that does the publishing of the podcast, we were eventually brought into each other's lives. Each life affects a life. And with that said, as I always close with lots more from the heart, you know, like the acronym, we're about to get one for lots more from the heart.
Okay.
But tell your story. It's a place here to do that, but in the grocery store, at the gym, just at the gas station, you've got a story to tell. And I can't tell that story for you. Monique can't tell it for you, but we can tell our stories, but you can tell yours too. So thank you for being a guest or for listening. Thank you for being my guest. This has been invaluable. Until next time, tell your story. Thank you.